work hard, you try to do the right thing, but in recent tough economic times, it's really tough for a lot of people who are going through financial difficulties.
And when that happens, it's difficult to know what to do, but there's one thing you should never do, and that's ignore the creditors. Joining me now is the lady of the law, Andrea Kast. Andrea, so good to see you again.
Good to see you guys too.
So when people are finding themselves in tough financial times, the worst thing they can do is bury their head in the sand. I know we've covered that a few times,
right.
but it's like the normal thing, protection. I'll just ignore it and hopefully it'll go away. Worst thing we can do.
Worst thing. It's tempting to do, but they don't go away. And by ignoring them, you kind of give them permission to do whatever they want to you, and they do. And they do a lot of bad things to you, and that's why we wanted to talk about this today.
Well, and you know this because you have experienced both sides of this issue, and kind of give people a quick little background on where you came from as far as.
Well, I was the creditor's attorney out there who was, doing all the bad things for a long time, and I, had people come into my door and say, you're garnishing my wages, take the shirt off my back, here's my kids, feed them for the weekend because I can't feed them now. So I thought, I better switch sides and help people because I'm tired
probably tough on you.
Tired of hurting the people.
Well, and so since you have that experience being on the other side, talk about some of the tactics that creditors use to try to get people who owe money to pay their debts ASAP.
Right. Well, creditors, they do a lot of things. They can't harass you under the law, but they come
Find
close.
other
it's
ways
a very,
to do
very
it.
gray area. They'll call your friends, they'll call your family, they'll call your neighbors, they'll call you all day long.
How do they do that? How do they get your friends and family's phone number?
They same last names, same address next door to yours. All of that comes into play. I mean, Google is a big a big factor in that.
So
now
they will call your neighbor. They can do that legally under the law. They can call your neighbor and be like, hey, Joe Schmo to the right of you owes $5,000. Go knock on their door.
Or they can say they can't say you owe money.
They can't say you owe money, but they can say, are they home? Do you know them? Do you speak to them? Can you tell them we called?
And do people actually give up that information? Or?
Some do, some don't. You'd be surprised.
They feel pressured, and
that's why they call the next neighbor.
Until they find some. But they can do that under the law. They can go and just pick up the phone and probe for information.
As long as they don't disclose the debt and how much you owe.
Okay.
So
and
what do
else?
we do?
Well, there were some other ones though. In addition to that, what else can they do?
Well, then they can get a judgment against you, and that judgment's good for 20 years. They can, continue to try to take your cars, get liens on your cars. They can put liens on your home. They can't take your home if it's exempted in Florida, but they can make it hard for you to sell it again if you ever wanted to, because you're going to have to pay that judgment pay their lien off. They can garnish your wages at 25%. They can hit your bank account over and over again, and as long as there's money in the account, they'll take it. And so you want to protect yourself from these kind of things. They can also, come and, the IRS, they don't need judgments. They can do it, whether you have a judgment or not. They can garnish your wages. They can take your property. They can take your 401k account. Student loans the same. They can garnish your wages without a judgment. And there are things that, creditors can do. They can even, have you do stuff post-judgment, like interrogatories, financial information forms, set you for deposition. If you don't go, they'll haul you into court and say, why didn't you show up to these things? If you don't show up to that hearing, they can actually have a sheriff come knock on your door, pick you up and arrest you, bring you in, hold you in jail until the creditor's attorney can get there and tell you, explain to the judge why you didn't go. And the judge is probably going to fine you at that point for using the court's resources and the sheriff's resources.
But I'm not the one that made the call. I mean, it's the creditor that did it. But it's your responsibility now.
Because you owe the debt. The other scary thing is if you owe a debt to an insurance company for failure to be properly insured and you cause an accident, or you're the owner of a vehicle that was involved in an accident and you weren't properly insured, they can get a judgment against you and take your license if you're not paying. So then you can't work because you can't get to work every day.
So what in the world do we do to protect ourselves from getting into that situation? And even if we can't afford it, let's say something, we're falling behind on certain things and we know we can't pay it right now, but obviously turning our head is not going to help it. What do we do? What are the steps we take?
Well, the first thing is, you don't want to, even if you can't pay, you don't want to ignore them. You want to, tell them your situation. Sometimes they'll back off if you just tell them your situation. I'm broke, I have no money, I'm on Social Security disability, whatever it is. But the second most important thing is you want to get help. You want someone out there who can give you sound legal advice to help you through the process, to we can negotiate the debt for you if you just tell us what your problems are. We can assess your situation, negotiate the debts for you. We can help you with those judgments. I mean, bankruptcy is an option to get rid of those judgments. So, there is help out there, and we offer free consultations. We're willing to, look at your circumstances, assess your needs and tell you what's the best way to handle it.
Yeah, I think that's important to know. So even if you're not sure that you're heading in a bad situation or whatnot, at least you can come in and say, hey, listen, here's the scenario. I'm going to lay it down in front of you, and you don't have to pay anything for that. It's just you guys look it over and you say, okay, well, here's what I recommend, and you can do what you want with that information pretty much.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
You know, we can help anyone. I mean, no matter what stage you're in, it's just the longer you wait to get help, the harder it is to resolve the problem.
Okay. All right.
Great.
Well, thank
Thanks,
you
Andrea.
so much for being here, Andrea. We
Thanks for
appreciate
having
it.
me.
You have a great smile.
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. I'd like to thank Lady of the Law, Andrea, for her advice, and thanks to Emery, Kast, and Walker for sponsoring today's segment.
And they say the biggest mistake that you can make when facing financial hardships is to do nothing. The legal team of Emery, Kast, and Walker, they say they understand what you're going through. They are here, they say, to help good people in bad times. So you can visit their website, www.jackslawyer.com, or you can call them 904-404-3394 for a free consultation to help find solutions to your problem.